Today we're going to make an almodrote of eggplant. Of course, I make eggplant at least once a year. I love eggplant. This is an old Sephardic dish that came from Spain, and it went with the Inquisition around the Mediterranean basin and came to the New World. What I've done is add feta cheese and Gruyere cheese and fresh basil, if you can get it, and cherry tomatoes or whatever tomatoes you have, because I think of it as a late summer dish. I mean, a summer dish, but it can be whenever you want. You can also substitute zucchini and just grate the zucchini. So I've showed as an example that you can do it. The first thing that you do is take your eggplants. And I like to do this maybe a day before I'm going to cook. Pierce them like this. You've got to pierce them because otherwise they're in a hot oven and the oven will just explode. I mean, they'll explode in the oven. So you put them on a baking sheet. Now, you can also grill it, which I'll show you how to do. Or you can put it in the oven. You can hold on to it as long as you can do it. But you can do this and grill it over it. By doing it over the burner, you get a smokier flavor, which is really good. But, you know, it's not that much better than just cooking it in the hot 425-degree oven. So we're going to put this with the other. I peel them. I do this with my hands. And, you know, there were two ways of really cooking eggplant. One is with the skin on, sautéing it. And that was what was called making Jewish eggplant. And the other was to do this, to cook it and just eat the interior. Now what I do, squeeze as much of the water out as possible. People say that this is the bitterness. I don't know. But try to get yourself... I think eggplants are being bred now so that they're meatier. And the bulbous ones are, to me, the best. But I couldn't get them where I live. I grow them in my garden, but I couldn't get them. So now you can see it's all mashed up. Some people will want to puree this. I won't. I like rustic feelings when I'm cooking. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put some oil in here. And I'm going to saute onions and garlic. See, this I got in Istanbul. Isn't it pretty? Okay, so here we saute this, and I'm going to put my eggplant right in to saute it. It'll saute it on top. I don't want them to be too brown. Just want the flavor of garlic and onion to seep through. And I'm just going to let the onions cook for a second. While I'm doing that, I'm going to put about a cup of feta cheese. And make sure that you get flavorful feta. There's a lot of feta out there that is not very flavorful. And then this is some Gruyere cheese. You could use manchego cheese. You could use you could even use mozzarella. That would be something that's kind of runny. I take about a half of a cup of, of breadcrumbs. Some salt, which I'll put on this. Just get back to this. saute it, just make it, I just think it adds a little bit more flavor when you're doing this. It doesn't look beautiful, but I think it tastes beautiful. So then I'm going to mix in the egg and turn this off. Where was that thing I had just now? Oh, here. Okay, so then you move everything together, mix it together. Hopefully it won't cook. And so then what I'll do is put this in here. Remember I said there were tomatoes in this? For eggplant lovers, it looks beautiful. For those who don't like eggplant so much, it's not going to look so beautiful. So what I do is I take a whole tomato and just tuck it in here. The color is pretty. And I think tomatoes, I have lots of cherry tomatoes in my garden. So all summer long, I like to use cherry tomatoes in cooking. And they're so good anyway. So you use about a cup, I'd say, of cherry tomatoes. There are a lot here. You can push them down if you want. But I like them showing. Okay, so then this is the other trick that I do. I take basil and I cut it. Or you could also use, if you want, pesto. You don't even have to use fresh basil. Just put pesto in it. But what I do is I sprinkle it over and I tuck it in. And then you get the full flavor of the basil when you're eating this dish. Okay, then what I do is sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top. So then I'm going to stick it in a 375 oven or 400 degree oven for 30 minutes, okay? Put some tomato and basil. Enjoy. Bon appetit. Bete avon. For eggplant lovers, this is a real treat.